Shamsundar was carving the first Jagannaths. And this was during the time when we were still trying to understand and follow the initial principles. And Prabhupada paid us a surprise visit at our apartment to see how the work was going. And so he's looking at this one, that one, and the other one, all three of them. And on the top of Subhadra's head, or was it Balaram? On the top of Balaram's head, I believe, it was Balaram or Jagannath. At any rate, there was a package of Pall Mall. And Prabhupada said, "What is that?" And Shamsundar said, "Oh." And Prabhupada said, "That's all right. It is very difficult to give up smoking." He says, "But why not one less every day? One less every day until finished." He said, "Don't let such a small thing as a little cigarette stand between you and Krishna." It was such a loving, gentle instruction, but it was very clear. And Shamsundar, he followed that instruction. So there was his tolerance. But at the same time, he didn't say, "Yes, go on smoking." But he said how to stop it. So it was a positive way of prohibiting. What happened was, again, this was my cooking pastimes with Srila Prabhupada. So everybody else would be going through bead bags. I'd have this metal trunk full of, the kerosene stove, pots, pans, rolling pins, and, rice, dal, chapati, and flowers. So we're going on Vrndavan Prikrama, but we went in a bus. So I had my trunk with us. And the devotees' prasadam was being provided somehow or other. At this one place we stopped, and it was near Govardhan Hill. And there was this veranda, right off here was the street, and here was the veranda, covered over, and here was all these doors, like it was a dharamshala. But the thing that was really struck me funny was when you'd open the doors, there would be these rooms, like a dharamshala, it's just a room. You've been to India, so you know it's just a room. But there was no back wall. I just opened it up, and here was these rooms, and that was right out there was the rest of the world. Anyway, into one of these rooms, Prabhupada went to have his massage, and the rest of us were sitting out there, and I was cooking out on this veranda. And the thing about cooking for Prabhupada, as soon as he had his massage and he came in, he had to come and have the plate ready. Like, he didn't wait around or say, "Oh, excuse me, Srila Prabhupada, but blah, blah, blah." It's like, there it was. So there I was out on the sidewalk, and I really had to have it together. And I only had so much fuel and so much chapati dough, and, it was a tight little schedule. You're used to schedules, so you know. Anyways, he comes out. I had it ready. We all sit down. There was the brahmacharis and the sannyasis on one side, the grihasthas and their wives on the other. Just as we start to eat, woof, 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 woof. Two dogs come. Yap, yap, yap. And up went the sannyasis and a couple of brahmacharis. They were going to save us from these dogs. And up went Prabhupada. He says, "No, stop." And he took his chapati and he tore it in half, and he gave one to one dog, one to the other, and then he goes, "Hup, Jow." And they just walked away. And then he turned and said, "You never know who they are, these dogs in Vrndavan." And it was really intense, because we had this sudden glimpse at the fact that we were in the holy Dham, and we were seeing dogs, but actually Prabhupada was seeing spirit souls, and we didn't know who they were. And Prabhupada didn't discriminate. He didn't play with dogs. He didn't have them in his house, but he didn't kick them either. He didn't mistreat any living being. One time in Mayapur, I was there too, and he learned the devotees were beating the dogs, and he said, "They should be beat." And he meant the devotees, not the dogs. And the devotees were, actually even proud of this dog beating activity. I remember that. for some reason they thought it was okay to beat these dogs. And you've seen the dogs in India. There's no hair, no flesh. There's just poor guys, you know, and they yap a lot. Prabhupada, he was always showing concern. I think that's one aspect. Genuine concern, not just some superficial pat in the head, and, you know. And yet he wasn't ever falsely sympathetic or sentimentally sympathetic.